Hi there, welcome to Onyxcoin Wyckoff Technical Analysis session. If you're new to my sessions, here are the 3 key takeaways you can expect. So let's start with the weekly chart of Onyx. Since this is the very first time I cover Onyx, if you have been following, you know what I'm going to do. I already made the key level lines, just that the Wyckoff tags are still not in place, so it's time to put them in now. The orange ones are the accumulation stage or cycle tags. The blue ones are the distribution cycles. I'm going to roughly pull them to where they should be, and then we can start. So let's zoom in and go to this side. That looks like the selling climax to me, and an automatic rally just to get to an even lower point. There was many tests that happened. The white box, this white edge, is the bottom of the long-term playground zone. That's an area that tracks, very long time, and 70–80% of the time the coin was trading within this price zone. But Onyx is still pretty young, so we may have to adjust in future. Okay, just to quickly check, because what I'm seeing here is actually of moving it one step backwards. That should be the preliminary support period actually. And there was no spring over here, so we can delete it for the time being. Backup of support, last point of support period happened right over there. We had sign of strength over there. Okay, so that was the previous accumulation period. There wasn't like a distribution period for XCN during early 2024. Some other altcoins did. And as for this distribution cycle, we've gone through this, the buying climax. Not that we have a second test. You can consider this one is, but it's very low, like half of the climax. And the automatic reaction went so deep back in March. Let's say that's the LPSY. We don't have the second test. No, sorry. Wrong button. Yeah, and then here there's a sign of weakness, and then another LPSY. If I change to a line chart, you can see those peaks over there. Okay, and where we are now is kind of interesting because it's lower than that PS period. So we may likely be already in one, like the early stage of accumulation, right below this orange key level of 0.008. Okay, what happens next if this is not the selling climax? Obviously, is for that to show up. If this is the selling climax, what's happening this week is the selling climax, which can be because it can accumulate higher than the previous cycle back in 2003, 2004. So the next stage would be a leg upwards. That's called automatic rally. You see what happened over here. Okay, there was a little spike after the climax. Usually it happens sooner, but in this case, maybe Onyx was still young. That's why it's behaving a little bit different. So these are the stages. One, we're potentially going through. The other two are what we expect to happen next if we have already entered the accumulation cycle. which looks like we are. Let's go to the daily chart and see deeply what's going on. Again, it's time to put in the Wyckoff tax, but this time it's way more tricky because in the daily chart things happens very differently. So instead of this entire distribution, as in the weekly, this is probably multiple distributions that happened for the daily chart. Yeah, I'm looking at this, and I think there is a shade at the back, that's why it looks so dark. Okay, it's because of the long-term playground swing back, like blocking all the tags. Now it looks clearer. I can first pull out the accumulation cycle tags to the bottom. Let's work with the distribution. Let's say that's the buying climax. That was the PSY. Automatic reaction. There was a mild second test. The wick touched on the same blue key level, light blue key level. LPSY continue to come down and down and down. To me, there is okay, sorry, we've got to press the wrong button. This looks like the preliminary support period. Not over yet, however. Going deep to where that may be the actual selling climax. Okay, it's a bit tricky, like I said. So these we can reuse. So that was one. Let's say that's the automatic reaction. You see this little pump after the dip. Second test. Sign of strength right there. Back up last point of support. There was another test right there. Okay. That's the second. And well, this one, let's quickly do it. By climax, PSY, automatic reaction, second test, or you can call that an up thrust. Not that the highest price, but the closing price was higher, so you can call that an up thrust. If you look at the line chart, it shows a higher peak, and then in another subsequent test, not as high, so not an up thrust of the distribution, or you can call that as well. But remember, all these are tests, no matter how we name them. The sign of weakness, 2 rounds, LPSY, multiple, then the accumulation. Now we are going through another one. Alright, and it keeps coming down, coming down, coming down, following what's happening right over there. That means it may not be over yet for the daily. So even that may be the selling climax, it can still have more tests that gets to lower level. Alright, so just to quickly check if there's any trend that's been going on, which it looks like there is. In the weekly chart, I haven't drawn this, but let's try this. Okay, if this is the trend that's been going on, this downtrend started back in July, mid-July. July 15th was the very first day it came down. Just making it tighter. Okay, we're getting there. Okay, assuming this downtrend continues, what's happening right now is that we've got the ceiling of the box, okay, the center line, as well as the bottom. The price tends to bounce off around these three lines, okay, and then it came down here. So if this continues, if I extend this box all the way to the red line, and assuming it travels to the right hand side, meaning the top half of the box, and trade within this triangle, this time point pointing towards the end of January, beginning of February next year, is one place where there's a potential or higher potential for it to break outside of this trend. If you ask, would there be a chance that it breaks out sooner than getting to that far down the timeline? What we can do is to find a reference point from here. Because Onyx is so young, we can only borrow from the limited history that it has. So I'm trying to see, obviously there's one support here. We are going to extend the lines and we may be able to see something pretty interesting. So 3, 8, 4, let's align the two, and I want this to go to, let's say, 100. See where it extends to later. I'm going to copy this, put another line here, and another line here. Those are our potential support locations for Onyx. So let's get to the right hand side now. $100 isn't enough, so let's do 200. We need more. Let's put 4. Okay, that's where I want that to get to. And you can see that immediately. The point that the price is currently finding support, you can say it's coincidental or the lines work, is exactly where the first yellow dashed line is sitting around. Okay, so you see those candlesticks there? I did not look at these where they close or open to draw this line. You witness it. I just borrow from the left and see where they ended. The wicks went lower, that's fine, but where they closed and opened is exactly where the line is. So assuming this continues to the right hand side, continuing the question we had, this time point points to somewhere near Christmas, which is much earlier than the dates that we just talked about. If that continues, being suppressed under the orange key level of around 0.8 cents, then this is the time near Christmas that Onyx may be able to break outside of this downtrend. Okay, so that's where we are. Been trading along this box for quite a while now. So that's, you know, in a month and a half time. If the price continues to trade sideways to the right hand side, there is an opportunity for it to break outside of this downward channel. Alright, that in the weekly it looks the same, but I want to keep this just for daily and below. I don't want to mess up the weekly. That's for our big picture view. Okay, so the very first session of Onyx, it seems like it's trying to get into the accumulation cycle. Let's see, like, when we come back to revisit Onyx, what's going to happen in a couple of weeks time. Yeah, let's see whether it's going to break outside of that downward channel by Christmas. Thanks for joining me. See you in the next session.